Sorry, I'll make it fast. So my name is Jim Taylor. I'm a product manager at Tibco Software. Our headquarters is in Dublin, Ohio. I work out of the Dublin, Ohio office, but our headquarters is in Palo Alto. I'm no longer welcome at the headquarters. I'm a member of the Enterprise Solutions Engineering Organization. We have responsibility for a number of areas, including the healthcare sector. Some of you may remember us as the old Foresight Group. I'm responsible for the Tibco FHIR product offering. So we're in the process of updating our integration platform to support FHIR as well as CDS hooks. And we're also planning to modify our API management application to support FHIR. So we've been involved in the healthcare business for a number of years. We focused mainly on the payer side, but given all the terrific work that's been done by the FHIR community, we're now able to focus on the clinical side. So the goal of the Tibco FHIR team is to help the FHIR community realize its mission of reducing healthcare costs and improving the quality of healthcare. We believe in that mission strongly, and we're glad to be a part of the FHIR community. So we plan to achieve that goal by paying attention to what's happening in the healthcare community, attending conferences like this, partnering with healthcare organizations. In fact, we're talking to CMS about how we can improve their current ESMD process, as well as implement some of the use cases for CDS hooks. So we try to find innovative ways to use FHIR and our product tool set to help or to address the challenges within the healthcare industry. So I've got a demonstration that will show two things. It'll show how members of an ACO can retrieve a patient's medical records and send that to another member of an ACO so that the entire team is up to date on the health status of the patients that they're treating. Also going to show how a payer can retrieve a medical record from a provider and then submit that to CMS so that it can be factored into a patient's risk score. So we built a standard web application using JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, and we put that on top of our integration platform called BusinessWorks. So all of the FHIR functionality needed for this process has been implemented in BusinessWorks, and we can also take advantage of the traditional integration services that are available on BusinessWorks. And we based it on the open source HappyFHIR libraries, like many other folks. So the application communicates with BusinessWorks via HTTP. BusinessWorks serves as the middleware and communicates with the FHIR servers. So initially we called this application FHIRWorks because we've implemented FHIR on our BusinessWorks platform, but that name has already been taken, so we had to change it to Medical Record Exchange. So I'm going to go through a video, and I'm going to apologize in advance for the sound of my recorded voice. It ain't pretty, but hopefully the content is good. This demonstration illustrates how a FHIR-based application can be used to exchange medical records to enhance a patient's care and to provide the documentation needed to adjust a patient's risk score. Two use cases will be utilized to demonstrate this application's functionality. The first use case shows how a healthcare provider, who's part of an ACO, can retrieve a recently updated care plan from another ACO participant, with whom the provider is collaborating to treat a patient with type 2 diabetes. It also demonstrates how the provider can share the plan with another healthcare organization. The second use case shows how a healthcare payer who has contracted with Medicare to provide a Medicare Advantage plan can use this application to retrieve an observation from an endocrinologist who has recently diagnosed a patient with type 2 diabetes. So this application was built using JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. It serves as a presentation layer for the FHIR resources that are exchanged in both use cases. works in conjunction with a Tibco product called Active Matrix BusinessWorks, which allows a user application to communicate with the FHIR API. The same platform can also be used to host a FHIR API. It does so by providing tools that allow an end user to build a FHIR-based workflow. The FHIR tools in BW are based on the FHIR open source code. They expose the components in the FHIR library as workflow activities. As BW is an integration platform, the FHIR activities can be combined with traditional integration services, such as populating an application data repository. The application communicates with BW using pure HTTP services, but we could also have used SOAP or RESTful services. We didn't add an authorization process to this demo to keep it simple, but we could have added OAuth 2 or JWT to the integration layer. So let's go ahead and launch the application. So in the first use case, a provider who's a member of an ACO needs to obtain the most recent information about a patient's health status to determine if the ACO's treatment plan has been effective. The provider, Joseph Latimer, is an endocrinologist and is working with a general practitioner and a registered dietitian nutritionist to treat a patient with type 2 diabetes. The team has created a care plan to help a patient, John Flanagan, reduce his weight. John has been taking his weight once a day and reporting his progress to the primary care physician, Dr. James McGreevy. Dr. McGreevy recently posted an update to John's care plan, and Dr. Latimer wants to check on the status of John's care plan. So Joseph enters his login credentials for the FHIR application. He then selects provider from the drop-down list. The list of participants in the Columbus Collaborative Care Network ACO appears on the next page. Joseph knows that another ACO participant, Dublin Family Medicine, is monitoring John's weight loss. He sees that they recently posted an update, so he selects Dublin Family Medicine. The list of patients and their associated medical records are retrieved from the FHIR server that's utilized by the Dublin Family Medicine Practice Group. Dr. Latimer sees that John Flanagan's care plan was just updated, so he selects John's plan. John's care plan is retrieved from the same FHIR server. Joseph verifies that the care plan is for John's weight management program, the condition they are treating is obesity, and the treatment plan is for type 2 diabetes. He can also see that the plan was updated by James McGreevy, John's primary care physician. These findings, activities, and their associated healthcare codes are available and can be used to inform a payer that the goal the ACO established for this patient has been met, which is significant as it could be a factor in determining the payment the ACO receives. The application also provides the ability to send the plan to any FHIR-enabled application. Some examples might include updating another ACO participant, sending the plan to a HIN who has been contracted by the ACO, or sending the plan to a payer to update the healthcare status of a patient. So in addition to a FHIR server, the care plan can be delivered to an edge device where it can be combined with data from an IoT device to monitor all the patient's risk factors. Or the care plan can be sent to a dietitian nutritionist so he or she can see the results of the treatment plan before the plan is sent to a centralized repository. So Flogo can be used to create a microservice to manage the data that's sent to an edge device. If you're not familiar with Flogo, it's a lightweight open source framework that can be implemented on an IoT or any edge device to provide information quickly to an end user. So let's have a look at the second use case. It demonstrates how a payer can use a FHIR API to retrieve medical records from a provider. There are several reasons a payer may need to retrieve a patient's medical records. First, a commercial payer who provides a Medicare Advantage plan may need to send a patient's medical records to CMS so that the capitated payments the payer receives are risk adjusted to reflect the patient's current health status. A patient's medical records may be needed to substantiate the HCC codes that were provided in the claim and to support the presence of a condition. Secondly, the risk adjustment model used by the ACA requires insurers, quote, covering a relatively greater number of health individuals must contribute to a risk adjustment pool that funds additional payments to insurers covering a larger portion of high-risk patients, end quote. To receive a payment from the risk adjustment pool, a payer may need to send its members' medical records to CMS. And thirdly, a provider may need to respond to a request from a CMS review contractor to submit an electronic medical record. I should point out that these are hypothetical scenarios. CMS doesn't currently provide a FHIR API to facilitate any of these processes, but I think you can see how FHIR could be used to streamline these processes. So let's launch the app again and walk through the second scenario. So a payer would log into the application and then select payer. On the next page, a list of practitioners with whom Columbus Health Plan has a Medicare Advantage contract appears. To keep things simple for this demo, we use an abbreviated list. Under an MA contract, the federal government pays insurers a fixed amount per beneficiary to provide health benefits to its Medicare Advantage members. The MA plans or the commercial insurance companies then contract with and pay providers to care for their beneficiaries. To make sure the capitated payments cover the expected costs of providing care to each Medicare Advantage beneficiary, payments are risk adjusted. One of the key factors in the adjustment is health status. Quote, in Medicare Advantage, it is important that clinicians document clinical diagnoses accurately to ensure that beneficiaries receive the appropriate care management and related services they need based on their condition, end quote. In this use case, the payer knows that one of its beneficiaries, Ben Weiss, has recently been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, so he selects Diabetes and Endocrinology Center of Columbus. When analyzing claims, CMS uses HCC codes to identify high-risk patients, so they may already be aware of the change in Ben's health status. However, the HCC codes may need to be supplemented with the appropriate medical records. So the payer can see that an observation is available for Ben Weiss. The payer can click on Ben's name to submit a request to retrieve the observation FHIR resource from the provider's FHIR API. Once the observation resource has been retrieved, it's validated and archived by BusinessWorks and passed to the application. The application then renders the observation in an easy-to-read format. The payer can then see that all the information needed to substantiate a type 2 diabetes treatment plan is included in the observation. So that's it for the demo. Just to recap, we've built an application that can be used by payers and providers to share medical records, which is much more efficient than the current process of faxing medical records or sending a payer out to a provider's site to retrieve documents. And again, we use our BusinessWorks platform as the middleware. The application communicates with BusinessWorks. We did that because we wanted to take advantage of the integration services in addition to the FHIR functionality on the BusinessWorks platform. And then BusinessWorks passes the FHIR resources over to the application. So that is it. Thank you for your attention. I think we can move on.